Overall, on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say I was very, very, very satisfied. So, level 10 with this team experience because I was able to work with my friends and it was really nice, especially since this is our last year of university and we've made so many friends in this program and have gotten so close. I'm really, really, really close with Maisha, Lauren, Miriam, and Aaron, and it was so great to be able to work with all of them for one last time before we all graduate. We've lost so much time because of COVID, and it sucks not being able to see people face to face. It was just so much fun being able to FaceTime call all the time and like WhatsApp or Messenger. We're talking all the time, even like venting together. That was just such a nice experience to have again. I also was very satisfied with this experience because we had a very interesting topic, something that was also very personally close to me, examining stigma in other parts of the world. I'm very interested in cultural components of ABA and applications of it and just how other cultures feel towards it as well, understanding what stigma there is or isn't in some cases might help better give care to the people that we work with. We were able to very effectively work together collaboratively because of the familiarity we already had. We already know that we're all working right now and we all have very different schedules, which made it easier for us to, because we were so close to each other, have really late meetings. Like we would be meeting up at 10 p.m., 11 p.m., up until midnight sometimes, or really early in the morning. I remember we woke up at 7 a.m. to film our video because that day we all had crazy different schedules. We also worked very effectively together because, as I mentioned earlier, if anyone was behind on any deadlines we had set, we always communicated with each other at least 24 hours beforehand. And I feel like there was two things that we would either do. We would either offer to help the person with what they needed to get done before the time we meet up, or just meeting up later. And like once again, we had very flexible hours, so even if we needed to push it to that same day but like really 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 late in order to give that person time to complete their components that needed to get done, then that was really doable for us. Another strategy that made us work really effectively was that we had a focus on time management. We already knew this semester was going to be very, very, very hectic, as well as we're all working almost full-time jobs. So we scheduled a lot of meetings on weeks that we knew we didn't have much going on earlier on in the term, and scheduled a lot less meetings during heavier, busier weeks in order to compensate kind of, but it also kind of shifted how we got the work done. We all shifted, I feel like, equally between the different task roles, but one role that I knew I was willingly taking at one point was to be an elaborator or a clarifier, especially when it came to the discussion around what we were going to do for the discussion components. At that point, like, we're all just throwing out many ideas and I was trying to write them all down, and it seemed very broad. So I started elaborating and asking people to clarify, or even like restating what other people's basic general ideas were, and elaborated on it to see if that's the direction that they were going on, to help give us perspective and narrow down our specific discussion idea. So a maintenance role that I demonstrated during this group project was being an encourager. I feel like we all had very busy schedules, which is why we all wanted to get deadlines and things done ahead of time. And I really tried to secretly reinforce everybody with lots of positive reinforcement to get things done early. I kept on being like, come on guys, let's just get this done, get it out of the way. The faster we do it, the better. Just lots of positive encouragement to keep the momentum going. An effective soft skill that I demonstrated during this assignment was having strong work ethics. So what that specifically meant for me was not falling behind and having consistent expectations as well as fulfilling them. So this meant not allowing any personal life issues or work schedules interfere with the completion of deadlines. Another soft skill that I utilized during this was being open-minded. And these are just like intrinsic skills, the soft skills, but the open-mindedness just meant never shooting down any ideas, no matter how irrelevant it might have been to the question presented, because that's a very aversive experience coming from firsthand. A hard skill that was very effective and made this group project better in my perspective would be my understanding and personal life experiences being Muslim and coming from the Islamic faith and religion. I was able to provide lots of relevant and useful information through the knowledge of this religion that better helped us reflect and interpret the study. A professional boundary that I adhered to during this project was staying on task when we were working on assignments. Because we are friends, it's very easy for us to cross that professional boundary while we're working and discuss friends and life and just have fun. But when we had scheduled to meet, our first priority is working on the assignment first and socializing after. So we would stay on the phone for an hour after we had completed our assignments, just talking and socializing. So there was a separation between friendship and group project mates. Some ways I used professional communication skills to communicate during this group project was that I didn't take any comments that were made towards any ideas that I presented as threatening or an attack on me or like something about my work ethic or how I work or my style at all. It was just hit or miss, that's it. I also try to make sure I used a lot of I statements when making any statements, so I'm taking full ownership for any ideas and thoughts that were presented. I also paid attention a lot to people's body languages and their tones of voice to see how they reacted to information that I said or any critiques that I presented, because that would let me know whether I needed to follow up with them. So because we are friends, it's very easy for us to individually reach out to one another and not need to feel like we need to communicate with anybody else in the group, because we are friends and are aware we don't want to change one another's opinions about each other and our individual friendships. So when I did have a slight disagreement with a member in our group, I reached out to them and said, hey, I kind of felt like that comment was a little unnecessary at that time, given the circumstances, and we were immediately able to talk about it and resolve it without involving anybody else, and it was easier that way. Some personal self-care tips that I would use was 10-minute bedtime yoga every night, yoga with Adriene. She has a lot of de-stressing end of the day release yoga videos, and I would say in a group setting, a self-care skill that I employed would be valuing other people's time. So working on what we needed to work on and leaving the fun for later, so people could dip in and out if they want to. Not everyone needed to stay for that hour-long conversation that we needed to have after. The biggest takeaway for me from this experience was learning how to work with friends that I am this close with. This was the first time that I was able to work with individuals I personally really value in my life. And through this experience, I was able to comfortably learn how to balance personal life and the tasks in front of us and leave the friendship aside and not hurt anybody's feelings, because group projects create a lot of tension between any group. thus working with friends can be a little scarier. And now I think I'm less scared to do this experience again because I do now know how to successfully create that balance that would lead to effective work.